Number one is establish or set the no boundary. That is, there is a sign on your life that says no, and you put that sign in strategic places. Now, everybody knows this about narcissists. They are control freaks. They tell everybody what to eat, where to eat, when to eat. They will tell you, well, they tell you what to think and how to think it. They will tell you what movie to watch on Netflix. They will tell you where to go and when to go there. They're in control. They're in charge. They know better than you and everybody else, and they see themselves as entitled to do that because, well, they like to think of themselves as superior, even though deep down inside we know that they're not. So we have to establish boundaries that say, no, think of your life as having a fence around it, like a house with a fence around it. And on the fence, on the gate, is a sign that says, no entry. Do not come in. The narcissist will try to come in anyhow, but you got to keep that door locked. Narcissists won't knock on your no door. They will pound on it. They will try to kick it in, but you have to make sure this is a door, this is a sign that cannot be penetrated. You cannot cross this boundary. So you have to establish those boundaries. And we're going to do another video on which boundaries to establish and where to put the no sign. Number two is this. Once you establish the boundaries, and we just touched on this a bit, but once you establish those boundaries and put up your no sign, there is no negotiation. So number two is make sure those are no negotiable boundaries. You have no negotiable boundaries whatsoever. And it means no. When you put up a no sign, it doesn't say, let's negotiate. It says no, period. So don't negotiate with them. Number three is don't respond to their abuse. Now, let's say that you are dealing with a narcissist that is abusing you in some way, maybe taking advantage of you, taking advantage of your money, your time, whatever. There comes a point in time where you just have to back off and not, if you possibly can, don't even talk to them. Go gray rock. Ultimately, that's what you want to do anyhow, but you just want to ghost them. As long as they are abusing you. Now, if they're physically abusing you, you want to do more than stay away from them. This is just my opinion. You do what you want. But if somebody is physically abusing you, I'd call the cops. Narcissists have this way that they front themselves, they present themselves as being undefeatable. You just can't deal with them. You can't reach them. I guarantee you call the cops on them, they're going to know that you mean business. Now, they're going to fight you back, obviously. They're not going to put up with that. But I'd rather deal with that than have to deal with their physical abuse. But number three is don't respond to abuse. Number four is something very similar, and that's this. Don't take their bait, because narcissists love to fight. So they will try to entice you, bait you into fighting. Now, fighting, again, sometimes may be physical, but usually it's just verbal. They love to argue because in arguing, well, number one, they're good at it because they have lots and lots of practice. They argue with everybody, every opportunity they can, they argue with them. They love to argue because they love to feel in control. Now, by virtue of the fact that a narcissist has lured you into an argument, enticed you into an argument, he or she feels in control. They made you do something that you wouldn't be doing otherwise, arguing. So how do you deal with that? Well, rather than defend yourself and rather than throw barbs, return the barbs, once again, just go silent, go quiet. They don't know what to do with that. They have no idea how to do with it. And you will see them. Sometimes you can even tell it in their faces. They're frustrated. They get a little huffy. How dare you not respond to them? They're in control. They're in charge. They're the boss of the world, of the planet. They're the king of the universe. And as their subject, you are obligated to reply to them. Don't argue with them. Just sit back and watch them. Watch them fume. But they will get the point eventually. Number five is don't fear, because a narcissist is very adept at being able to read people's faces, their expressions, and their body language. It's almost like they have a sixth sense. They can tell when you are afraid. And if they can make you fear and tremble, that encourages them so much. Again, it's like enticing you into arguing. They did it. Now they're in control. If they can make you afraid of them, they can sense it and they feel like, hey, I'm controlling this guy, this woman. I made her fear me. The other day I was walking. I take a walk every day, maybe 2.5 miles. And as I was walking, there was this like a bulldog pit bull that got loose from the owner's house. And he came after me while I was walking. And one thing I've learned, I walk a lot. So one thing I learned about dogs is the thing to do is don't run from them because they'll chase you. Turn around and stare them down. Sometimes you even walk toward them and they will back off. So when this particular dog came after me and his owner was in the front yard yelling at him, which I have no idea why the owner didn't just come get him, which would have been the decent thing to do. But anyhow, so there I was on a country road and had this dog that chased me down. I just stopped. And I turned around and faced him. And I carry a cane with me. I call it my critter stick for just such emergencies. And I just pointed it at him so he'd back off. But as I was staring at this dog eye to eye, I had no fear whatsoever. I just a little frustrated, but I didn't fear him. And the dog, he continued to bark, for a second and growl and snarl, what dogs do, but not for very long. Finally, he got kind of quiet. Then you see him calm down. Then he turned his head back to one side, kind of looking back at the owner. And eventually, he just turned around and ran away because he sensed there was no fear. He sensed no fear. So when you're dealing with a narcissist, you want to make sure, because they're like pit bulls, They love to sense fear, and they chase after it. And if you run from a narcissist, which is not quite the same as going gray rock, they will chase after you. So just stop, stare them down, sometimes physically. Sometimes literally, you just have to stop and stare at them. See what they do. See how long you can stare at them. And sometimes they will get frustrated and walk away, but usually they'll stare back at you. See how long it takes. You can stand there for an hour if you want to, stare them down. May not always be possible to do that if you're busy doing something else, but at least for a moment, give them a good stare in the face. Give them a dirty look. Let them know, hey, get back in your place. And your place is not ruining my life. Your place is not controlling me in any manner whatsoever. Now, number 6 is kind of interesting, and I actually learned this from someone else, but they said when you're dealing with a narcissist, talking with a narcissist, call them by name. So, I don't know, say their name is John or Betty, just call them, look, John, look, Betty, whatever their name is. Why would you do that? Well, there's a good reason for it, because it puts a humanness to the situation. Narcissists like to look at people not as humans, but as puppets. They're inanimate objects that are to be controlled. They attach strings to you, psychological strings to you, and they pull your strings. Believe me, they will pull your strings. They love to pull strings. But a puppet doesn't, on its own volition, turn around and say, look, John, knock it off. And when you do that, the narcissist will be taken back. Now, keep in mind, the narcissist will always, in my experience, and I'm pushing 70 years old, and I've been experiencing narcissists all my life. When I was a kid, teenager, young adult, I had narcissists that I had to contend with. Now, most of the time, I didn't even know they were narcissists until I thought about it later, but there have been a couple occasions where I have had serious problems with people that I came to learn were narcissists. Psychopathic narcissist, dark triad narcissist. So I've learned a thing or two over the years, and I want to share with you some of those things I've learned. And one thing I've learned is call the narcissist by name when you're talking to him and or her. And look at the response. How dare you be human? I want to deal with a puppet. You're like Pinocchio. You're coming alive. How dare you do that? Number 7 is, I love this one because it is so effective. But number 7 is answer with questions. Ask questions whenever you are replying to a narcissist. Why is that? It's because, are you listening? Because this is really important. The person who asks questions controls the conversation. You want to test it out? Next time you're talking to somebody, just for the fun of it, just ask them politely 1 or 2 questions. You're in control. You get in a debate with somebody on social media. I don't like to do that. I usually just ignore them. But instead of arguing with them, answering their questions or their accusations, just type in a question. Think of some way to respond with a question. It's amazing how powerful that is. Once again, ask questions when replying because the person who asks questions controls the conversation. Number 8 is a little bit more difficult to explain, but I think you're a smart person, so you could probably figure this one out. But number 8, don't give them a pass. By that I mean, don't assume, once you figure out this person is a narcissist, don't ever presume or assume that they are telling the truth. Presume or assume they're lying, because that's what narcissists do the best. Now, if you don't know someone is a narcissist, you may be a little suspicious. You may be looking and wondering. You may be looking for those telltale signs, those traits of narcissism, which we did a video on that you want to watch. But if you know it's a narcissist, don't assume they're telling the truth. Assume that they're not telling the truth. Don't give them a pass, because as soon as you trust them, you're giving them permission to trample all over you. You're not there to be trampled on. You didn't come into this life with the word doormat stamped on your forehead or the word welcome tattooed on you somewhere so you can be somebody's doormat. You're not to stomp on people, nor are you to allow them to stomp on you. And we all know that. So why would you allow a narcissist to do it to you? Totally crazy. So what we do is we don't give them a pass. Sorry, there's a no sign on my fence, and I'm not your doormat. You're not welcome here. Not by any means whatsoever. Number 9 is call them out. And once again, we talked about questions before. Answer with questions. When you call someone out, don't make accusations. When you're dealing with a narcissist, don't accuse him or her of doing this, or why did you do this, or why did you mishandle the money. You got to frame it as a question. Yeah, you use the word why. You don't say just that you did this and you did that, but make them answer. If you just throw an accusation at them, they don't know. Typically, what they'll do is they'll just throw an accusation back at you. But if you frame it as a question, and by and large, you want to argue even talking to them, but if you must, then frame it as a question, not as an accusation. But you do need to call them out. Don't let them know they're getting away with it. Eventually, and again, these people love to fight, but eventually they're going to figure out that they misjudged your character because they thought you were an empath. They thought you were somebody that they could easily take advantage of. You were low-hanging fruit. You were the wounded gazelle that they could easily prey on. Now they're finding out, that wounded gazelle wasn't as wounded as I thought it was, and come to think of it, that's not even a gazelle. That's a roaring lion. And this is not somebody to mess with. They'll get the message, and it's not going to be easy. Never have I seen a narcissist just up and walk away, because it hurts their pride, hurts their ego, and that's what they're all about. Finally, number 10. Interrupt them when they hedge. Now, what do we mean by that? Well, the best way to explain it is a police negotiation. They got a bad guy, suspect, in the negotiation room. Not a negotiation room, but interrogation room. They're asking this guy questions. Now they understand that this guy is almost certainly the suspect. This guy actually committed the murder, or he or she committed the theft, the fraud, whatever. And now they get in their face, and they start getting tough with them, and they make straightforward allegations or implications that you did commit this crime. Now just come clean with us and tell us how you did it. And the suspect will almost inevitably deny it. And you'll notice what the police do in the interrogation room. They will immediately interrupt them. As soon as they hear a denial coming out of that person's mouth, they will immediately interrupt them. They have a lot of different ways they do that, but they won't let them get away with saying their denial without stopping them dead in their tracks. So that is one way that you can put a narcissist in their place. When they start to hedge, when they start to say, when they delve into denial, start talking immediately. That's a good place to start asking questions. Don't let them get more than 2 or 3 words out of their mouth. Now you see those rectangles on the screen. Click on one of those and we'll just keep this conversation going. It's not going to end till you say it end. It doesn't end because we're at the end of the video, because there's a lot more videos on our channel to watch. Talk to you next time.